Line up next to talk about BTBuckets.
Hello, my name is Philip Clean. I'm from São Paulo, Brazil, and I came to talk a little about. Bom dia, bom dia. Obrigado. I came to talk a little bit about lessons learned from a free behavior targeting tool. First thing I want to talk about is the sites that have installed BTBuckets. They've been telling us that the ability to target on top of the analysis of their users is probably the single most valuable untapped source of profit for their sites. So this is behavioral targeting, something that's been talked about for over 10 years. Some people do it, but still nobody's really paid attention to it. I'm going to talk, my presentation is a three-part presentation. I'm going to talk a little bit about BTBuckets, briefly about it. You guys can check it out on the web later. It's free, install it, try it. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about our users, how we are using BTBuckets, their characteristics, and then I'm actually show a couple of cases of what people are doing. First of all, BTBuckets is free. It's a on-site behavior segmentation and targeting tool. It's tag-based, so you include a tag just like your regular web analytics tag on your web pages. It's software as a service. We use the cloud. We use Amazon EC2 and the Google App Engine. So even if you do have a lot of pages on your site, I'm sure we can take it. It's integratable with your web analytics, ad serving, or your content management system platform. So information that you collect out of your Omniture, Web Trends, Google Analytics, you can plug that in to target a specific user and vice versa. And we are working on an API right now, and we should be talking about that soon. Let me talk a little about our clients. Pretty much every site type, every type site has already installed sites of every type already installed BTBuckets. It's been used for pretty much everything. We have the most varied uses for BTBuckets. Of course, the focus is on search and conversion because that's where the money is. It's also a global product. Although the focus of the use is in North America and Europe, I think that's where most of the sites are. We can see people use it all over the globe. A lot has been talked about maturity models at eMetrics, and I'm going to discuss a little bit about what we learned about the behavioral targeting maturity model at BTBuckets. What we realized is the beginner users, they install the tags and they create about one bucket. Usually that bucket, that segment, that cluster is very specific behavior. It's usually a very valuable customer or the customer that is coming from a specific keyword or specific site. And that cluster usually impacts about 5% of the visits. These sites feel comfortable about that and they expand a little bit more. So they say, hey, I'm going to get the second most important cluster on my site. So they go about two and three clusters. And when they do that, of course, their penetration of the visits goes up to 15%. And then they realize, which I think is a eureka moment, is that, hey, we can segment everything. We don't have to be specific, new versus return. You can specify your organic search. Have you converted? So every type of user is a possibility to segment that user and show more appropriate content. I'd like a quick show of hands here. And of course, when you talk about the growth and maturity, you're talking about an average of 7 buckets, and every visitor is segmented. If I could have a quick show of hands, anybody that has a site or manages a site, if you do, how many people manage a site or have a site? Just a quick show of hands. Okay, those that raise your hand, how many of you segment users, new users, different than returning visitors? And now how many of you segment your returning visitors that visited once, but they're visited 50 users different? Okay. Yesterday, I was searching for a calling card service to call my wife back in Brazil. And the purchase of calling card is an interesting life cycle. So I went and I searched and I came across this site. It's an interesting site. It's a very clear call to action. You select the country you want to call to, so they can't use geo-IP information. And it says learn more or buy now. So I got into their site, selected Brazil, and I said, well, let me check out some other sites too. So then I returned to this site after I went to a couple sites, and this is what the homepage told me. It says, hola, that's hello in Portuguese. It has a picture of Rio de Janeiro. Every Brazilian knows that picture. That's the sugar loaf. We have a girl that looks Brazilian. It has a big Brazilian flag. It says, call Brazil for as low as 1 point. But this is the home page. I did 3 page views. This is the way it's segmented to second place. And by the way, they use BTBuckets. So this is a clear, easy way, and this is images. Those two are images of doing a high-impact interaction using behavioral targeting. Conversion optimization. E-commerce tools today, they're very powerful. I mean, you can upsell, cross-sell, send email. You can create advanced clusters on what users purchased. But 2/3, 3/4 of your users on most of these sites are anonymous. They still haven't made a purchase with you. But they're telling a lot of information. They're telling what products they're looking for. They're telling where they came from, how long they're staying on their site, how many times they're returning. Use that information. I mean, use that anonymous information to appropriately segment content to these users. Another thing is, I mean, in the acquisition phase, you spend a lot of money on search and display. You brought the users to your site. They came to your site. They liked your product. They put it in the shopping cart, and they're leaving the conversion funnel. I mean, you have to do absolutely everything to streamline that. I mean, this is an example of integration we did with Campile, in which the user leaves the shopping cart. We pop up a feedback form and say, hey, tell us, why are you leaving? What's happening? Search. Probably most of the marketing money spent by most of you is in search. It's in paid search. And paid search users are telling you a lot. They're telling you why they're coming to your site. Use that information. I mean, greet them differently. If you came here looking for socks, or if you came here looking for a computer, I mean, greet them differently. Use that information to maximize the interaction with your users. And the last thing I want to finish the presentation with is, I mean, why aren't you BTing? Why aren't you using it? The WA did a survey last year and asked where the investments in 2009 would go to. And after the which I also believe in the 1090 rule, the 2080 rule about investing in people, it's behavioral targeting. I mean, there are great behavior targeting tools out there by Amateur, by some paid vendors that you can integrate with your, and here's an easy way to get started. It's free, it's easy, it's integrated. And what behavioral targeting can do for you analysts is you identify the behavior, you identify the patterns. I mean, act. And thank you very much. If anybody has some more specific questions or wants to talk about a specific case, I'll be hanging around here after the session. Thank you very much.
We have some time for some questions right now for Philip. We're running ahead of schedule, so if anyone has any quick questions about BTBuckets right now.
Yes, free. We believe that it's free up to 5 million requests, so it's free for the long tail and for smaller sites. BTBuckets grew out of a bigger company, of another web analytics and ad serving company in Brazil, so we have a very lot of knowledge of the cutting costs short, and with the inflection point of cloud computing, I mean, we can offer this at such low prices that we believe that if we do create a big user base, I'm sure that we can make money eventually through consulting services, through larger sites. But this is our chance to leave our legacy. I mean, we really believe that this is something that can change the way the web works. So, I mean, I sent an email to my CEO, and I kept that email tonight. Like, how are you going to make money with this, Philip? And I'm like, we'll talk about that later. I mean, their Twitter model is showing that, I mean, it's sustainable in other ways. And to be honest with you, I really don't know yet. I really don't know.
Any questions?
Thank
Okay,
you.
we will move on to Ken Kovash.